My son created a phrase when he was little. He would say, "Love, love." He was around 5 years old. And if anyone is familiar with that adorable stage of a 5-year-old, they have this unending energy and love, so much that they don't know what to do with all of it. I recall my own son running up and down our stairs in our home, calling out, "Love, love, 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 love." One day, it just stuck. Me and my children started to use the phrase "love, love." It was our way of saying goodbye whenever we parted. To me, it feels like our love for God and our love for each other. I used to ask my children, "Who do you love first?" Of course, being little, initially they said, "You, Mommy." I gently reminded them that we love God first. And if we love God first, because God is in charge, everything else important to us will follow. This, to me, felt like the perfect way to start this segment because it really describes what we're talking about. Love God and love neighbor. If we actually accomplish this seemingly easy concept, then we have accomplished a lot. It is really with only those two directives that we accomplish what God asks. So why is it that we have such a hard time with this seemingly simple request? You know, with a child, they are not yet tarnished by the world. They are pure and innocent. They fully trust and love. So it is our hope to get back to where we simply love God and those around us with that same untarnished love. A couple of years ago, I taught a confirmation class, a room full of 9th graders, and I asked one of the students to come up and draw a cross on the dry erase board. He stepped up, drew a vertical line, then a horizontal line, put down the marker, and sat down. The next child came up and did the same, and then the next. This went on for about 6 children, and then finally they looked up at me, waiting for my point. So I said, "You all came up and did the same thing. You drew a cross in the same way, a vertical line and then a horizontal line. Think about it. It is natural for us to first draw the vertical line and then the horizontal line, right? Generally, you don't see someone draw the horizontal line first." So they said, "Okay, so what does that mean?" I told them what it means to me. I believe that the vertical line in the cross means that we first need to be in relationship with God. I believe that the horizontal line in the cross is how we then need to be in relationship with others. The cross, an instrument of our Christian faith, symbolizes this love. Similarly, when we think about the 10 Commandments, the first half of the commandments talk about our relationship with God, honoring Him. And then the balance talk about our relationship with others, what we should and should not do. I believe that is why Jesus responded the way He did when being asked, "What are the 2 most important commandments?" He said the first is about loving God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your might. And the second about loving others. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. By grouping the commandments, if you will, he simply understood the 2 most important things, loving God and loving each other. It's all about relationships. So that is why I wanted to start with the topic by talking about the 2 most important relationships. The word love is often referred to as a feeling, something that happens to us. Love is what we hope for in a relationship. It's the noun in the sentence, if you will. Well, I challenge you to think of love as the verb in the sentence, the action word, to love. We need to put God in the center of our lives, love Him, and then love others the same way God would love them. This may sound simple, right up until you start to think about the difficult relationships that you have in your life, like with a difficult coworker, an arrogant teacher, a lying friend, a jealous sibling, or a cheating spouse. Yikes! We might say, how can I love? Remember that loving is not about liking their behavior. You don't have to like their bad behavior, but we do need to love in the same way God loves us, without condition, or shall I say, unconditionally. Let me give you an example. I had an experience with a coworker once. I was working in a large corporate environment. There was a person being rude to me for no apparent reason. I hadn't had a confrontation with them. I actually didn't know them very well at all, so it didn't make sense to me. What I did remember about this person is that they seemed to have a lot of religious paraphernalia on their desk, which confused me even more. They seemed to have a relationship with God, yet it didn't seem to translate as to how they treated me. Looking back on it, clearly they were missing the second half of the equation. They might be loving God, but clearly they were not loving their neighbor. I was young, it was still very early in my own faith walk, and I decided that I would just start praying for this person on a regular basis. This was really new to me, but I decided to give it a try. And I have to tell you, at first, it felt very uncomfortable. But with time, I started to better understand the process because I started to feel peace. And then it made sense. The cool part is that you don't have to confront the person. You don't have to talk to them or anyone about it. You simply pray for them. So then finally, one day, I very distinctly remember this person just came up to me and started talking to me. Nothing extraordinary in subject, but I could tell they started to come around. When finally, over time, I felt comfortable to talk to them about the situation. I actually shared that I had been praying for them and praying for this to happen. More than anything, I wanted them to share in this experience so that they may learn from it as well. I could tell by their reaction that we both gained from this little exercise. I was so grateful for it to be at the point of respect, which too comes from love. So this is exactly what I mean. When we are to love each other in this way, we may not always love their behavior, but we are to love how God loves. By praying, you bring God in the middle for His help, His love, and in turn shows us how to love. Well, it worked. Sound like a hard process? Well, it's not hard, but the hard part is that we have to stay committed to the process every day, and that's every minute of every day, loving each other. So I would like to just take a moment here. Let's think about it. What would the world look like if we were all acting in this committed way to each other? And I mean really committed, which creates love and respect for all. Have you ever seen the bumper sticker coexist? I have it on my car. A lot of people have a wrong notion as to what this means. But this is actually what it means. It means mutual respect for all. And if we think about it, where the barriers are in the world, we begin to realize that it starts with relationships. Whether we are talking about a partner, another faith, or even another nation, it's about relationships, and we need to work on them. We need to first start with God, loving Him and trusting Him, to then help us with our own relationships with others, our neighbors. So, why do we love? Simply because He loved us first.